what's going on? Welcome to Move Fast, Lift Heavy podcast. This is Joe Roscoe, co-host of MFLH Pod. Thanks again for joining in. If you've been coming around a lot and you haven't subscribed yet, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you're here for the first time and you like what you're hearing, please subscribe, screenshot it, put it on your IG story. Let the people know that you stumbled across this amazing podcast called Move Fast, Lift Heavy. Move Fast, Lift Heavy is your one-stop shop for all things training and apparel. So you can check us out at movefastlift.com. We've got a abs challenge going on with our Train with CH program and our Pump with CH program. It's 4 weeks of an ab challenge. You'll get that for free by just hopping over to movefastlift.com, signing up for that free trial. Also, we have a drop coming up November the 24th. We chatted about that on a previous episode. You can check out all that apparel on our Instagram page at Move Fast Lift Heavy. All right, let's bring on founder, co-host of Move Fast Lift Heavy, Christian Harris. Hey, man.
Yo, what up? What up?
So good to see you. You look
Good
warm over there.
well, sir.
You look all snuggled up. So
Very nice and cozy. I'm on my lumberjack vibes right now.
All right, lumberjack vibes. Before we bring on our guest, real quick, name a favorite, a song or two from the new Drake album. Are you particularly fond of any of them?
I'm really digging. Obviously, the first track kind of gets you going. Rich Flex is a good one. The other one I like. Let me see, real quick.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's the one with more M's. More M's.
All right. I'll take it. I still have to do my workout today. So I'm not too embarrassed when I stand next to you in public. So when I do my workout, I'll listen to those. All right.
Yeah, man, it's a great album. Great album.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm excited for this one. Two competitors on the floor, one being you, the other being our guest. You all just mixed it up at the CrossFit Games last season. Go ahead and intro our guest. Really excited to hop into this one.
Yeah, so our next guest, fellow CrossFit Games competitor. These guys finished third this year.
No, what you talking? Are you talking trash already? Are you talking? You're trying to rip them off the podium already?
No. They finished third this year. I had the opportunity to first compete against this dude overseas at Filthy 150 a couple years ago, and I just remember this dude was putting up some crazy numbers in this clean complex that we had, and yeah, I'm excited to go against him again this season. Our next guest is Joshua Al-chamaa.
What's up, guys?
What's up, bro? Was it Filthy 150, right?
Yeah, I did do Filthy 150. That was actually I'm going to call that one a fun comp for us. I did that with my now wife. A little bit of a sad story at that time. We lost her father, so we went on as a battle cancer team.
Wow.
So I went on with my wife had competed a little bit before, and then two other athletes had never competed. So we kind of went in as this charity team, just have a great time. And the event that you're talking about was like a handstand walk and clean, I believe it was. And my wife couldn't do a handstand walk. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go out and just do a heavy clean. You're meant to do walks and cleans. And I was like, I'm just going to go out and do a heavy clean and put on a bit of a show. So I think that's what that situation was.
Yep. It was a good time. Good time.
Can we backtrack? Can we backtrack a second? There's a new Drake album. Have I been out the loop? What the hell is going on?
What?
Yo! I didn't even. I was like, is this like new? Because I thought there was a new album. So there's another new album.
No, this dropped on Friday.
What?
Yeah, man. Drake and 21 Savage.
Damn. Okay, yeah, I've been out the loop. All right.
Yeah, there's like 8 bangers that go hard in the gym.
Damn.
It's a good album.
I was living in the city. Now I've moved out to the country. I have no idea what's going on. Wow.
Do you think, Christian, that this drop was a little bit closer to the previous album because the previous album maybe wasn't taken as fondly as some of the previous ones? Do you think he was like, oh shit, I got to get something out quick because of that last one?
I don't know. I mean, I
know you were a fan of the last one. I know you liked Honestly Nevermind. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Where he does all like that house stuff, right? It's a little housey in the I like that.
Very, very housey. And then he had the Jimmy Cooks at the end with 21.
That was great.
And basically this album it's all that.
Okay. That's like
Jimmy Cooks and then some.
That's literally all Jorge listens to. Every time I put on the house straight stuff, he's like, "What are you doing? Like, strong, bro." So, all right, I'm sure he's heard that.
All right, so you just moved. You said from the city to the country. You're painting over there. You're putting up your own fitness facility, pickleball. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So obviously during the season, so I spend half of my week. So I'm usually 4 days a week in San Diego when I'm in season. Slight rule change now, but I'm still going to do the same thing. So I spend Monday through Thursday, usually in San Diego, and then I'd go back to San Diego. And in between that, my wife and I, we were living in the city. So we were in West Hollywood. So I was doing a big commute. And then what happened from there is we decided to move out of the city and move to a town called Sherman Oaks. Once we got there, we were there for a year and realized we don't have to be in a town at all. We were like, let's buy a property where we have some land. We can build a gym, a pickleball court, which I'm absolutely obsessed with at the moment. So we managed to find this property out in a place called Canyon Country. So it's literally the country. There is a town. The closest town is Santa Clarita, and we have our Chick-fil-A and we have everything, but it's a little bit out the way. My property sits on 1.1 acres, and like I said, I'm just going to build this. Basically, I want the property to be a place where I call you guys up, I call up some friends, and I'm like, hey, come out and train, and we can train on property and have some fun. That's what I'm trying to build here. So, yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. And then
what do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
CrossFit.
What do you do for work?
So before CrossFit, I was a coach. Now, I haven't really spoken. This is the first time I'm going to talk openly about this, but my wife and I made some smart investments. We were in stocks, and we did a little bit of that Bitcoin thing. And my wife was very smart. She jumped on Tesla when Tesla was nothing, and it went 500%. And we invested in property. So it's kind of funny because a lot of people often ask me, and I'm a little bit reluctant to tell people what we do because I don't want it to be this kind of like, oh, he's just going out and making money X, Y, and Z and not really focusing on his CrossFit, because CrossFit is important to me. But at the same time, I very quickly and very early on recognized that CrossFit wasn't going to make me the money that I want. It wasn't going to get me the cars that I wanted. And I'm pretty open about that. So we went out and made some investments. And I still have my sponsorships, and I take those very seriously. And CrossFit's very important to me. But, not everyone is going to make the Matt Fraser salary. So if I want, that better salary, I've got to find better ways of working.
Yeah. And I think that is something that, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're a younger athlete in the game, I think if you adapt to that mindset that Josh did early on, you will maybe be able to even have a little bit more longevity in the sport, because you're not trying to rely on competing and trying to win competitions and so on and so forth, that you'll be able to sustain maybe even a longer career as well.
For sure. I think the game's changing now, though, man. Like, someone asked me this question the other day, and they're like, "Oh, can I be an athlete at 26 years old?" And I started when I was like 25. But now it's like, if you weren't doing CrossFit since the age of like 17 and you're on that early come up, it's very different. But then you also have to recognize, if you are a younger athlete and you're jumping into the game early, like you said, is longevity important to you? Like, you just have to really recognize what you see as valuable. Like for me, CrossFit is valuable because I love competing, but like I always say, I'm competing for stories. I'm competing so I can get that medal, I can get that shirt, I can put it up on the wall. And when I have my kids can look at it and go, wow, that was my dad. Because I look at my father who was in the military and I see his medals and all that stuff. And that's what made me want to be fit. So the reason why I'm doing it is a little bit different, but yeah, I do agree. If you want longevity in the sport, you want to not solely focus on, and it kind of sucks to say this because my father said it all the time, have a plan B. And I hated plan Bs, but you're not gonna, it just depends. Some people are happy, living a life of, real easygoing, jump from competition to competition. That wasn't me. I want the best of the best. I want to be able to, travel whenever me and my wife want to travel. We want to do good things. So I had to divert that a little. And I was very smart in the early years. When I was younger, I was a personal shopper, so I used to dress celebrities and all that kind of stuff. And I figured out how to work with people and different clients, and that kind of propelled me onto these things. So yeah, just kind of
very cool. How old are you?
I'm 30 years old. I'm 31 in 1 month.
Okay.
You were
From the UK?
From the UK, from London, England.
How did you end up over here?
I met my wife. She's actually from England too, though, which is kind of crazy. Everyone's like, oh, but I was born and raised in London. She grew up in Newcastle, the north of England, and I was visiting my brother who lived in LA. And she had studied in Boston. She did business studies in Boston, moved to LA. She opened up a corporate wellness company. So she had a company basically training medical staff in hospitals, because a lot of medical staff were spending, 14 hours a day in the hospital, not very healthy. So she created a business model where she went in and trained those. And we met in the gym, and she saw me doing some heavy front squats, and the rest was history.
Gotta get the front squats, huh? You gotta get the front squats.
And she could hear me saying this, but she saw those front squats and slid up in the DMs. She always was like, oh, I wasn't like that. I just heard you were English. And I was like, no, you saw me lifting. I know.
All right. So how did you get into becoming a personal shopper?
So I still do, like, a go-getter attitude when I was younger. Getting jobs was very different. So when I was younger, growing up in England, getting a job was like, you had your CV printed on paper, you took it into a place of where you wanted to work, and you just hoped they'd give you a call back. I never got any callbacks. So I started to get frustrated. So I was going into the same places every single week and dropping in my CV. The first person that actually called me back was Topman. I don't know if you remember Topman, which was a clothing brand, real kind of it's like ASOS. It got bought out by ASOS now. Yeah. And they called me up and basically said, we're tired of you coming in every week, so we're going to give you a part-time job. And I was like, cool, I'll take a part-time job. And this was just as a sales associate in a store. And then they had a personal shopping department. So me being me, I'm like, where's the top that I can go? And I start connecting with people. And I was this young 17, 18-year-old kid, trying to figure things out. And then from there, someone said there was a job role that came up in a luxury department store in England. So I went for that. And my dad always taught me to dress super clean, suited and booted. So that's what I did. And I got a call back from Tom Ford. They were like, we want you to come and be our tailor. And I was like, sure, no problem. I'd never done tailoring in my life. I had no idea. I just put on a nice suit because my dad told me to. But, you learn on the fly. I say yes and figure it out later. Went to Tom Ford. Then got upgraded, became a personal shopper, went to Burberry, managed their personal shopping department, moved over to another brand called Ballet. And then there I was working with, royalty and all different types of people. So, yeah, it kind of just fell into place. And, I'm English. I like to talk. I like to, razzle dazzle people a little bit, and it worked. And that's what happened.
So moral of the story, like, we hear this all the time, but like, this is just it right there. Persistency is key, or consistency is key. If you didn't go there every week and drop your CV off, like that, none of this would have happened, right? So consistency is key, folks.
Well, and obviously, without being a douchebag, I'm a firm believer in no doesn't mean no. It just means not right now. So, okay, you say no now. Well, then why did you say no? Let me figure out why you said no. Was my CV good enough? Do I need to change a few things? And I'm constantly like that. I'm trying to figure things out. If something doesn't work in the now, then I'll figure it out. And I took that into CrossFit. For many years, I was on the cusp, missing out on the games as an individual by 2 places or a couple points or whatever. And people were like, you must be broken. And I was like, no, it just wasn't my time. It doesn't mean no, it just wasn't right now. That's okay.
And how long have you been in the game? My bad, Joe.
Wait, before you get into, we still haven't come up with our hand signals yet, Christian. We still haven't come up with our hand signals. Before we get into the CrossFit thing, because I know Christian's interested in this, and obviously you are too, Joshua, with your background. Any more like stories of people you dressed, or you said you just casually were like royalty? Like, what kind of stories do you have from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a few people I dressed. Some were on site, some were picked. So people would say, "This is my client." So, for instance, one of those was Harry Styles. Now, I didn't dress him in person, but I'd have someone come in and they would say, "Look, this is my client. I need you to pick the best outfits that you got for this person." And I'd do a little background and figure out what kind of things they liked, and I would pick those outfits and find out what their measurements were and put them all into size and all that kind of stuff. A few people that I dressed personally were Tiny Temper. James Corden was one of my clients. I don't know if I'm actually supposed to be saying this, but I guess fuck it, I don't do it anymore. There was a group called El Divo that I dressed, and then in terms of royalty, you know, some of the products that I sold was like Prince Harry and Prince William, but not in. Some things are in person, some things are not in person. I mean, we had some. Can you hear that? I've got a leaf blower guy like right outside.
A little bit, but he'll pass by.
Okay. Hopefully.
With 2022 and the era of podcasting, things like this are totally acceptable and normal.
Okay, cool. Because it's annoying me.
Kids coming into the room, Christian standing up and forgetting he doesn't have his pants on. These are all normal things.
It happens.
It happens. Oh yeah, he was like in a full-on G-string, just stood up one time. It's like, Christian, what are you doing, man? Sit down.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, like,
No, just kidding.
I'm gonna pass that one because I've
just kidding.
I've never made that mistake before, but there's always a first time.
Just kidding.
So yeah, that was kind of like my introduction into working with people and learning. To be honest with you, what I credit that world for was taking a kid that kind of grew up a little bit rogue. So I grew up in an area called Hackney in London, a little bit rough and ready, and it took me from being this kid with a lot of attitude into molding me into a way that I could communicate with other human beings and be able to generate a better life for myself. So that's what kind of happened in that avenue. But yeah, I mean, I worked with some pretty spectacular people. It was super fun. The reason I got out of the game is because I felt like at that time, I hadn't made any of the smart investments that I've started to make now. Obviously, I learned about that, seeing that stuff, but because I hadn't made that, I was dressing the rich and famous. I was going to dinners with some incredible people. They were, you know, buying $600-700 bottles of wine. Like a bottle of wine for that much blew my mind. And I'm sitting there drinking it, thinking I can never go out and do this. Like if I wasn't with my client, this life isn't for me. And then lo and behold, I found a CrossFit gym and started getting dirt on my hands, which I'd never had before, and was like, yo, I'm done with this suit game. I need to just get messed up a little bit. So,
All right.
So how long have you been in the game? When did you start?
Yeah, now you can talk about CrossFit, Christian. Go ahead.
So I started CrossFit in, I want to say the back end of 2017, I believe it was. The back end of 2016 going into 2017 is when I started CrossFit, because I remember my first major competition, which was regionals, was in 2018. But when I came into CrossFit, like I never touched a barbell. I mean, I'd done fitness and I benched and I loved squats. Another thing I'm going to scan over, but we can come back to, in my younger years, I was a dancer. So I was good with leg-based movements. So that kind of stuff I was used to, but snatching, clean and jerks, push jerks, split jerks, all that stuff I'd never done. And I remember I came into a gym, the first CrossFit gym I actually walked into, and it was my intro. Someone ripped their shirt off. And I won't say the exact words that I said, but I was a bit like, this is not for me. It seemed a little bit weird, a little bit kind of, you know, I don't know what's going on. So I went away, and it took a couple of months, and I was like, you know what? I need to try something. I was getting fed up of drinking. I smoked cigarettes. I was just being a bit stupid. And I was like, do you know what? Push yourself out of your comfort zone. You've done it before. Do it again. I did my intro. I was my 4th day on my intro, and I swear I just ripped my shirt open. I was like doing some dodgy pull-ups, and that was it. The rest is history. I was like, I'm going to be a games athlete. And then I went from there.
Wow.
And you started in 2017 and make regionals in 2018. No big deal.
Yeah. Well, it was on a team. I mean, not that team is any different, but it was different back then. Going to regionals on a team, I think, was like, if I think of who I was as an athlete in 2018, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that's cool, but it's nothing compared to now. That was kind of like on a fly. I feel like I just kind of got lucky then, whereas now things don't feel like luck. They feel like I've worked hard enough for it.
This was regionals like abroad? Were you in the States yet, or were you in the UK?
No, in Europe. This is what was exciting about it. It was the last actual regionals as regionals. So that was kind of fun being part of that.
Okay. Yeah. So it was that time. Yep.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on the dancer thing. So what type of dancing did you do? When did you stop? When did you start?
So I started when I was about 11 years old. I first started because I liked dancing in my bedroom, and video cameras, video phones had just come out at that time, and I was popping and locking and took a video and posted it to Nickelodeon, and it went on Nickelodeon, and all my friends were like, yo, you need to go do street dance. And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's try it. So that kind of happened. I fell into like a street dance crew, started learning hip hop, did breakdancing, and then I got picked up by a teacher that was like, you can move your body really well, come and do contemporary. And I was like, hell no, I am not good. That's not where I was from. That's not for me. Same thing. She convinced me, just like I convinced myself in CrossFit. I got my first contemporary dance piece with two women or two girls in an older year. And I was like, hell yeah, I get to lift these girls up and move around. And then I fell in love with contemporary and ballet. And I was like, yo, I can move my body in a way that I didn't think was even possible. And I can, as a kid that didn't like to talk and was in a bit of a rough area, I was able to be expressive without actually saying things. Because, if you would have asked me when I was, 13 years old to talk in front of a group or speak to someone, absolutely not. I used to get kicked out of class because I couldn't stand up and read a page in a book. So being able to then express myself through my body and being able to move, it gave me an outlet, do those things.
When did you transition in your life where speaking to others was comfortable to you? How did you break through that?
So firstly, when I started dressing people, because I had to talk to them. But even then, it was like one-on-one. So the group stuff, I still wasn't confident with. I will actually say the point in where I pushed myself out of the boundary in group talking and that kind of stuff is when I became a CrossFit coach. And I remember I became a CrossFit coach, and hopefully my first employers of the gym that I went to, I won't say their names, but hopefully they're not listening, because they said, how long have you been coaching for? And I said 1.5 years, and I'd never done a session in my life. So I was so scared. The first class that turned up were like 15 people. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to copy everything that my first ever coach did in a group class. And I just copied everything he did, and I got the job. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
That's funny.
Ballsy, very ballsy.
Yeah, I guess that's the motto of this for me. Just I'm quite ballsy with stuff, and I just give it a go. You never know what can happen.
I'd have to agree with you. I think that's kind of where I started picking up a little bit more confidence in talking to large groups and just people in general, is when I became a CrossFit coach. You're kind of like forced into that situation if you want to have success with what you're doing. You got to be able to confidently talk to people. So yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Now, ballet, I would consider that also a form of gymnastics, which most gymnasts, when they get into CrossFit, they have a lot of success because they understand how to move their body. They have great body awareness. And, you're not somebody that is middle of the pack when it comes to strength. I would say you're on the top end of the field when it comes to snatching, cleaning, and jerking. So to me, it makes sense why you have success in CrossFit and lifting in general. Have you ever done a weightlifting meet before?
No, but I want to. I do definitely want to. I think the only reason that I haven't as of yet is when you and I met, I was going through a period of being my absolute, I would say, strongest pound for pound, putting up some numbers that were super competitive. And then I found myself transitioning. I was like, if I really want to be a games athlete, I've got to get fitter. Like, I was strong enough, and I was going out to competitions, and every competition I went to, I was guaranteed a win or at least a second in a lift, like, no matter what kind of lift it was. But I was kind of like, missing out by a few points, or middle of the pack, or one event would let me down. So I was like, you know what? I need to get fitter. And that's what I did. I actually, last season, just before we went into around this time last year, I was training for triathlon. So I did an Olympic triathlon, a sprint triathlon. I ran a marathon. I did all of that stuff to get me fitter. And I will say that maybe not my strength, well, my strength definitely took a little bit of a hit, but my mental game when it came to strength took a little bit of a hit because I know I'm much fitter now, but I haven't been exposed to the type of lifting that I used to do. Like I used to lift heavy 4 days a week. Now I'm lifting heavy maybe once or twice a week. But back to your question in terms of doing a weightlifting meet, absolutely. Like there's a few things as I call myself an athlete versus a CrossFit athlete that I want to tick off. You know, triathlon is one of them. Doing a weightlifting meet is another one. Playing a pro pickleball tournament is another one. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to sit here and call ourselves CrossFit athletes and only do CrossFit, it is niche now. It's not like before. It was like, oh, if you do CrossFit, you came from another sport. You came from football. You came from this. And, you know, you're trying to be the fittest in the world. Whereas I feel like CrossFit as a sport now is a sport within itself. Like everything is front facing. We're not changing our direction. We're not loading certain muscle groups. So if you want to be an athlete and call yourself the fittest in the world, my take on it is I have to run triathlons. I have to do these other things that other people do. Otherwise, how can I call myself that? But yes, I would like to meet.
Cool. Agreed.
Why don't you guys chop it up about last year's games? What was the worst event for you? The best event? The most fun? Start with one of those, and then Christian, you can chime in.
All right.
Oh man, I feel like my worst event was probably one of Christian's best events. What a lot of people don't know is last year, or the games just gone. Again, this is a podcast first, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for this. I was very sick, and I'll leave it at that. I was ill. I had some compromising health situations going on that put me in a really weird space of survive versus compete in some points. Sometimes you will have seen it if you were to watch it back. Sometimes you will not have seen it. But the point where you will have seen my survival mode would have been that final.
I'm just gonna say I didn't see it when you were jerking 405. I didn't see it.
Well, it wasn't 405. That's the problem. It should have been 405. It was 385.
Oh, 385.
And I did. Honestly, I wanted to go big, but I was like, I just can't take that risk. I have to put a number up that I know I can put up. I mean, for some people, don't get me wrong, outstanding number and whatnot. But you, as an athlete, and Christian, I'm sure you can you understand this, and yourself. But you know within yourself what you're capable of. And I felt like there was points at the games where I was capable of more, but I just had to focus on breathing. I had to focus on staying under control. Otherwise, this is the unique thing now being on a team. If I fuck up, I let my team down. That's it. It's not about me anymore. It's about these three other people that are standing beside me. And if I fuck up, that's everything gone out the window for them. So I had to put, that brave face on for them. But yeah, the worst event, back to the question, would be the final event. I think the whole weekend, everything that had happened, the composure, the way I'd kept myself switched on. When we picked up that worm and my team looked at me and they're like 10 reps, touch and go clean and jerks. And I was like, why? That's just ridiculous. But you can't say no because you're with a team. So we did it. We came off the bike last. We got out in front of these clean and jerks. And it was like someone just smacked me right in the face. And I had a few words with my team, and I'm sure I told them, fuck you a few times, but
that event did hurt. That one hurt.
All right, let's stick to that theme. So the worst was last event for Josh. Christian, what was your worst event that you did not like at the games?
Like for me personally?
Sure. Personally.
Personally, I would say the one with the handstand holds and the wall facing. Mm-hmm. It was just more of a frustrating event. Mm-hmm. We were so close to finishing under the cap, and the difference between 100 meters finishing under the cap and where we finished was like 10 spots. So to know that there was about 10 spots up for grabs by like 10 seconds is like so frustrating to me. And especially in an event like that where it was just so subjective, I feel the handstand holding situation was. Obviously we weren't on the better end of that, but it was just one of those things that was pretty frustrating. The wall facing handstand push-ups they were hard, but it wasn't the limiter in the workout. It was more of the handstand stuff.
Yeah, as a spectator watching it, I bet you they probably would have wished that when they were testing this out, that they would have had multiple teams at the same time testing it. Because when I don't know how many there were of you, maybe 10 or 5 teams on the floor, nothing looked the same as far as execution or judging or anything. It was just chaos. And it was kind of, I won't say it was embarrassing, but it was like, this isn't a good look for the sport, quote unquote.
Yeah, it didn't really look pretty. I think I get what they were trying to do. I really do. I really like the wall-facing handstand push-up because it really exposes you to make sure that you're performing a handstand push-up how it's actually supposed to be performed with good mechanics like that. I think they could have got the same effect with maybe just having a handstand walk for distance while the row is happening. So instead of having to hold a handstand hold for, that 500 meters, maybe just having, a set distance of handstand walking. It's like, all right, complete, 100 feet of handstand walking, maybe over an obstacle before your teammates finish their row. And I feel like you could have got the same stimulus.
Yeah, I hear you. The difference for me, though, I will say is I liked the element of the handstand hold. I can see how it was very subjective, especially the kick down to the kick up.
The kick down and kick up is what I'm referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
because we got hit on something like that, and I almost looked at the judge and I was like, what? Because we were both up at the same time. But there's these small kind of gray areas. I will add though to that event, I agree. I think the handstand push-up was a great variant. I think there was better ways of doing it though. And I'm not speaking for myself or for Invictus as a team. I was even looking down. It's frustrating when you look down the field and you see other teams and you're like, yo, they're doing it fine. And their judge is calling out these no reps. Even I was thinking that in my head, and I'm open about saying stuff like that. I think the line situation was a little bit gray. All you had to do was, put 2 pads and your head comes down to the mat. Your head touches the 100%. Mat, whatever you want that to be, and that's fine. This kind of like, look, if some judges are up high and some's a little lower and they're kind of looking and they're not seeing what they're looking for, or they're flustered, because we've got to remember a lot of these judges as well, they're in positions where a lot of them are volunteers. They're working with some of the best athletes on the floor. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to look silly, but then at the same time, you've got one that's got an ego and wants to be a little bit tough. There's too many inconsistencies. There has to be, and it's fine if that's, you want to do that judging role, because I think it's amazing they do that, but make it easy on the judge. Head touches a mat. You can see a head touch a mat. That's it. We do it. It's not even like a safety thing. We crash our head down to mats 24/7. Like,
I wonder if Boz was trying to intentionally not do that though, so that there was no opportunity to do like a bounce, quote unquote, per se. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but then you just say no bounce, and then you give people a no rep for a bounce. Like, I think you would find the job a lot easier judging a bounce versus judging this line. And it was like, your head has to pass the line. Well, what if I tie my bun a little bit higher? Like, can I get away with that?
Yeah.
I was even playing with that in my head. I was like, what can we do to make it? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't understand, and they often critique CrossFit for. They're like, oh, that person's cheating, or that person's doing that. Well, it's not on the athlete. It's kind of on the judge. Yes, it's on the athlete to have a little bit of integrity, but our job is to flirt with the line to the best of our abilities to execute the best we can. Like,
best time, yeah.
The best time. If a judge turns around to me and I'm doing something and they're not going to call it, they're not picking up on it, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep going because I'm going for the best time. If a judge calls it, then obviously you adjust and you figure that out. But yeah, I think that was a weird one for me in that event. But I love the event. I just think it could have been done a little bit.
All right, so we covered worst for each of you. Josh, a favorite. Let's go favorite, not based off of. Let's go first favorite off of your liking of the setup of the workout, not necessarily your team's performance, but the concept of it that you really enjoyed.
Well, for me, it's my first time walking out on the games floor, so I enjoyed it. I was kind of like, even though I was not particularly well and I had all these things going on, I was walking out on the floor and I was like, yo, I'm here. Like, I went into a gym all these years back and was like, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, and I'm standing here. Whatever happens, I'm here. Like, let's enjoy it. So I love the setup of everything, being a part of that, feeling like, the games do a good job, I found, for me, of making you feel like an athlete. they do kind of respect you and they want you to get the best performance out no matter what. Even if there's these gray areas, they are trying to get the best out of you. And that was spectacular for me. But in terms of like the best layout of the event, I love the first event.
I would agree.
Doing toaster bar with a helmet on, like, what? This is crazy. That for me was pretty special.
Got it.
I'm gonna agree with that. One, like, it was just a spectacle, that event, like having the big Bob out there, plus the whole element of riding a bike. Like, I've never ridden a bike in competition before, so that was pretty cool doing that for the first time. But yeah, it was a great way to start the weekend,
Yeah. And
I agree.
With that event, all the stuff that can happen too. Like, you're working with a machine now that's not like, oh, it switches off, we pull another machine. Like, you're working with a bike where we had a situation with one of our athletes, with Britt. We were doing great and her chain came off. She had to ditch her bike and run to the station, grab another bike. And you can look at that and say, oh, that's frustrating. But I look at it and say, well, this happens to triathletes. This happens to athletes in many other sports. You got to think on the fly and deal with this. And I think having that element made me think, yo, this is why I'm at the games, because you get to do game stuff. This is not gym stuff. This is game stuff.
Yeah.
And that was special.
Okay, favorite performance, something that one of you all stepped up clutch, or like a last minute finish or something like that from the games.
Christian, you take it first, because I got to think.
For me, it's the one with the worm burpees and the P bars and whatever it was, P bars and pegs, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a affirmation of the amount of burpees and pegboards that we did all season long leading up to it. And it was just like, we executed and performed as well as we possibly could. We had one little hiccup, I think, that cost us from actually winning the event, but I feel like we performed really, really well, and I was very proud of that workout.
Nice. Yeah. That was a fun workout. That's an interesting workout, how moving along the bars changed the dip. I didn't see that as a changing factor. Like, when the workout was read to us, and I was like, okay, like, I've been in the dance world, I can move along the bars. But you move along the bars, and I remember, especially, it was the first event in the Coliseum, so there was like a little bit of nerves in there. And I remember moving along the bar and going into the dip, and my arms are shaking. I'm like, why are my arms shaking? It's like 8 dips.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was a good one too. I think for me, one of the standout, I mean, there were so many events that have different standouts for different reasons, but I really did enjoy, like, again, a gray area, but I thought it was interesting to add it in, was the synchro double unders, that event, because it was like, it went from composure and being really focused, watching your team. And I found the best way to get those synchro double unders when we were training was watching the knees of the other athlete. So you're spending all this time watching someone's knees, and then they call done, and you got to grab your heavy object and run. And I found that was a great event, because it went from this real composure and breathe and focus to then just pick up this heavy object, whatever it be, your jerry cans or whatever, and run down the field with it. But I would say one of the highlights for me was, and it pains me to say it, but we almost had Rich by like a split second in that overhead squat workout. And I just remember like hunting him down and chasing. I was like, we got it. And then lo and behold, the greatest on earth pulls through and takes it.
He's the GOAT for a reason, man.
He is, everyone, and like, people might hate me say it, but it's a podcast. Let's be open. People talk about, Matt Fraser being the GOAT, and I give credit to him. He's a great athlete, but no one quite does it like Rich. I mean, Rich's personality, the way he communicates with people, his openness. I've competed on the field against both of them, obviously team with Rich, but I've competed individual against Matt at strength and depth. And Matt is very much focused on his performance in that moment. So I imagine the way he acted and the attitude was just because he was focused on performance rather than being likable, let's say. Whereas Rich, I don't know, man, like, he can be a great athlete and still be sociable and still communicate with you and still do all of these things. And he's gone from being an individual to being a team. And I hope he goes and destroys up, the Masters, because that will just set him off on a different tone. And I think he deserves a lot more credit for what he did to the sport, in my opinion. as a little bit more. I mean, I'm not an OG, but a little bit more in the early days versus, Matt and stuff. I think he deserves more credit for how exceptional he is.
All right, so the future of Froning maybe going Masters. What's your future? You're hitting the team this year. You're going to do this CrossFit thing forever. You're going to do a comeback and dance.
To go head to head with Christian again.
Hell yeah, bro! We got to do this thing.
I want us to get matched up on a lift, and I want us to be side by side, and I want to take him down. That is my ultimate goal in life. Once that's done, I'm quitting. I'm going.
Bro,
I'm done.
My strength numbers are coming back, so it's gonna be scary.
Mine are definitely not. So it's fine.
Keep it coming, Josh. Keep the trash talking coming. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, man, it's all a good time. It's I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the long term is for me, but definitely coming back on a team. Christian, you're going team
is
again,
too
right?
fun. Yeah, it's too fun, man.
Yeah. So, and look, let's be real. We get to be on a team, and we also get to live our lives, and we get to, work with great brands, and I get to come away and spend time with my wife, and I get to plan all these other things in my life. So I don't know, I think individual is great if you're maybe 20-something years old, but I'm 31 turning, and I need to think about, who I am as hopefully maybe one day a father and a human being. So I don't know. Yeah, I think team is the way to go for me. A lot of people take team as a. So how do I say this? A lot of people look at.
You're taking the easy road.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's how a lot of people look at team. But in my opinion, actually, I don't think there is an easy road. But when I competed as an individual, the only person I had to care about was me. If I messed up or did well, it was all within myself. That's the only thing you think about. When you're doing it for a team, the training is harder. The focus is harder. And I mean that because we'll be doing, imagine if you're on a team, right? And you train, let's just take your block because you've got 4 athletes, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, I'm feeling bad. Tuesday, Britt's feeling bad. Wednesday, Dev's feeling bad. Thursday, Jorge's feeling bad. You had a bad week. So you can't feel bad. There's no bad. If you're an individual, you have a bad day, write it off, move on. On a team, there's no bad day. You got to pick it up for that team 24/7. And I think there's something special about that. And that's ultimately when we look at other sports, apart from tennis and golf. But if you look at football, if you look at soccer, if you look at hockey, any other sport out there, we as people love getting behind the team sports because we see the fight that everyone has for each other. And I think we need to see more of that in CrossFit.
Well said.
Christian, anything before we let Josh go?
Well, 2 things. I wanna maybe add a segment into the podcast because pretty much everybody that we have on this podcast is successful in their own way. I assume everybody has some sort of daily habit or routine that helps them to be successful. So can you share with us maybe your morning routine or routine that you have throughout the day that kind of helps you to have success?
Yeah. I would say my morning routine is probably a little less conventional for an athlete. Most athletes would say I get up and I have this amount of protein and carbs and I do this. I don't do that. I get up and I just have a bagel. But I will say my number one thing that I have to do every day, and it sets the tone, is I make my bed. It sounds crazy. I know a lot of people have said it before in motivational speeches and stuff, and I'm not trying to be that, but I feel like when I get up and I make the bed, it really does set the tone for the day I'm going to have. If I get up and I'm messy and I'm not thinking about things, I have a messy day. Whereas if I get up and I make my bed and I take that first step, that for me is the number one thing that I have to do. And then, I don't know, coffee. I can't live without coffee. If you speak to me before a coffee, I'm probably going to chop your head off. So that's why I made sure I sat here with this, so I was a nice guy. So making my bed, drinking a coffee, and then I always have a salt bagel with cream cheese. If my day starts like that, I'm a happy man. That's all I need. And then obviously if we evolve, the fitness comes into it. I have to do a little bit of morning conditioning, but that's all. I'm sure you speak to many athletes, they all do the same thing. But like I said, make my bed, have my coffee, and I'm set. I'm good to go.
That's perfect, man. I mean, making your bed is the first win that you can have for the day, and it sets up. You have your first win, small win. It kind of sets up more wins for the rest of the day. So it's a great habit.
And I truly do live by this whole idea of like little by little becomes a lot. I actually have it on like a little poster thing that we have in like memory of Amber's father, but I have this thing that just says little by little becomes a lot, because I think that's we get blindsided by this big goal or this big thing we want to do, or we as human beings we flip on our phones and look at social media and all these people are doing these amazing things, and you think, I just want to get there, I want to be like that. But ultimately, if you just do the little things daily, create these really good habits, you'll get to the point in which you want to be in. And if you don't, well, then in my opinion, you should just enjoy the road more than the destination. You know, enjoy what you do enough that the destination doesn't matter. Whether I'm a great athlete or not, it doesn't matter, because my family still look at me with the same love every day. So I just got to enjoy myself.
Beautiful.
That did get a little bit preachy. I'm sorry.
I was just thinking in my mind, I hope everyone listening has hung around long enough to hear what you just said, because it's great.
Yeah.
All right, it's time to throw you on a hot seat, bro.
Oh yeah, that's the last thing. Yeah.
No. All right.
That's the closeout. All right. Couple quick questions. First thing that comes to mind, won't be too many. I'm sure you'll do fine with this. All right. Would you rather move fast? Would you rather move fast or lift heavy?
Lift heavy for the rest of my life. But yeah, go on.
Coffee or pre-workout?
Coffee, 100%.
Favorite brunch food?
Ooh, pancakes.
Ooh, okay. Last song playing in your car or your truck?
Oh man, I don't know. It was probably a song by Luke Combs or Chris Stapleton, because I'm hot on country.
All right.
Current favorite sneaker?
My Travis Scotts. I went all out on those. I spent way too much money, but I love them.
Which ones?
They were like the low mocha.
Okay, yep.
Yep.
If you had to pick one movement to do for the rest of your life.
Wait, run that back. If Puma's listening, they're my Puma shoes. I'm sponsored by you guys. Don't listen to that. I didn't say Travis Scott. Take it back. Run it. My God.
If you had to pick one movement to do for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Walk. Just walk. Just keep moving wherever you go. Don't stop.
Power or squat?
Oh, God dang. It would have been squat, but now it's power.
All right, sir, you survived a hot seat.
Oh, man. I really shot myself in the foot. Hey, look, we're athletes. Anyone listening to this, right? We're sponsored by brands, but we love other brands. It happens. It's normal, okay?
Of course.
Don't be mad at
100%.
me. Bro, those sneakers, though, those Travis Scotts, man.
Chef's
Just
kiss.
me and these?
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I've got the other, you know, the lighter. So the reverse of that. So they're like white.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, love those shoes. I don't know why.
They're
it's
clean.
so silly. It's just a Nike tick the other way around. Like, why do we like it so much? But we do.
Yeah.
Did you get them on the sneaker app, or did you have to pay stupid price?
No,
Don't
I
say
got a
stupid.
guy. I got a guy.
What do you mean you got a guy?
Yeah.
Who's your
We'll
guy?
talk offline. We'll talk offline.
All right. I need that guy.
All right, Josh, thanks for being on. Appreciate you. Hang out for a second, and Christian can tell you about his shoe dealer.
Don't worry, I'm hitting you up after this.
All right. That was fun. I'm looking forward to now you guys hopefully meeting again in Madison and, getting the chit chatted up. And maybe you'll be side by side in a liftoff coming up.
I hope so, man.
That's the dream, right?
That's it, man.
You okay?
That's the dream, bro. Yeah.
All right. Christian Harris, thanks so much. Thanks to our guest, Josh Al-chamaa. I'm Joe Roscoe from Move Fast Lift Heavy. Check us out, movefastliftheavy.com. Bye, Christian.
See ya.
All right. Later, everybody.